How many times am I going to have to keep telling y'all that the Texans and the Rockets mirror each other like the SpiderMan?
Hard work, hard work, hard work, hard work, hard work, work. There you go. Hard work, work. Everybody doing it right. Hard work, work, work. That's what I say. Hard work, work, work. Earn my pay. Hard work, do it every day. Hard work, work. Get up out of 2:45. Hard work, work. Let me go and earn my pay. Hard work, work. Boots on and lace.
Hey, what's going on, y'all? Give me a second. You tuned to Sports Talk with Big Sarge. I'm your host, Big Sarge. Give me 1 second. Give me 1 second. Give me 1 second. Give me 1 second. What is going on with my page? Did I put it on the right one? Yeah, say I'm live. Let me see. Open live video. What's going on with my page? Oh, there we go. Let me see if I can. Put it on the right one? Yes, I'm live. Let me see. Okay. Live video. Damn, switch some things up on you, boy. Switch some things up on you. Let me see. Am I up here? Ooh. Oh, there I go. Here I go. Here I go. Here I go again. Should we? What's up, y'all? Okay. Hey, what's going on, y'all? You tuned to Sports Talk with Big Sarge. I'm your host, Big Sarge. Make sure you follow me on the app formerly known as Twitter at Big Sarge Sports, the Z at the end. Follow me on the tick and the talk at Big Sarge Media. Make sure you are subscribed to the Texas Tailgate Talk podcast and to Big Sarge Media on YouTube. Follow me on Instagram at Big Sarge Sports with the Z at the end. Because you know we do everything for the gram. Senior Boble, hello. You're asking me. I got to know, Sarge, do you think the burner is real? I'm going to dive into that just a little bit later on in the show. We can't just give everything away right off the rip, Senior Boble. We got to, you know what I'm saying? They got to let some stuff. You know, you gotta, as we call it in the biz, you have to tease some things. I think that's what they call it. All right. Hey. Okay, before I even get this thing started, right? First of all, hey, y'all, welcome back. I appreciate you all being here. Been working on myself, doing some things for me, y'all know how I am. I mean, look, I'm staying out the way, drinking my water. You know what I mean? It's 5 o'clock somewhere, though. Let me go ahead and get this show started. And I'm going to say this. I got to say this. I'm sorry, y'all. I got to say this right up front. Hey, if you vote for Stephen A. Smith, you're a damn fool. If you vote for Stephen A. Smith for president, you are a damn fool. Like a big one. Like a whole fool. Like a whole fool. Now, let me preface my statement by saying this. I don't have anything against Stephen A. Smith personally. I've met Stephen A. Smith on more than one occasion personally, and I think that, you know, away from the cameras and the mics and all that, Stephen A. Smith is a very, very good guy. Stephen A. Smith is probably one of the best people I've ever met in my life as far as being able to relate and to talk to people. I ain't got no problem with Stephen A. Smith, the person. Hell, I ain't even got no problem with Stephen A. Smith, the host of an executive producer of First Take. I ain't got no problem with that because I don't watch First Take enough to criticize it. But I do have a problem with Stephen A. Smith as a political candidate for the president of the United States. Now, I told y'all a long time ago, I stopped doing political talk. I dibble and dabble in it every now and then, but I moved totally away from it because it's just too toxic. Like I already deal in a toxic pool when it comes to sports talk, but politics, I don't want to jump out of one toxic pool into another one. I gotta pick. I gotta pick a struggle. I gotta pick whichever one I'm gonna stay in. And for the most part, staying in that sports talk pool is kind of what I like. Right, stay right there. I don't really jump into that political pool because it's too toxic. Let me give you a couple of reasons why I don't feel that Stephen A. Smith is a hard is a I don't believe that Stephen A. Smith is a good candidate for president of the United States. First thing is I think that Stephen A. Smith is a plant. And what I mean by a plant is, hey, Stephen A. Smith, if you're going to criticize one political party and say that you're the right person to maybe come in and clean up that political party, I don't understand why you keep, like, you never say anything positive about that party. And I get it, it's a stick. You've been in television long enough to know what sells, what pushes the needle, what gets clickbait, what gets likes, retweets, and all of that. But I feel like Stephen A. Smith is a political, is a plant to be able to take over take some of the votes away from real Democratic candidates that's going to run for president. Because, like, if you just really want to run for president and you really wanted to do things, then why don't you just run as a Republican? Because, like I said, I never really see you criticizing the Republican Party. Let me preface my statement by saying I ain't got no affiliation with no political party. I am the political party of Big Sarge. That's it. If the Democrats got something good, I'll vote for that. If the Republicans got something good, I'll vote for that. The Independents, the Green Party, the Tea Party, whatever. Whoever got something good, that's what I'm voting for. But I believe that Stephen A. Smith is a political plant planted by one political party to dismantle and disparage another political party, especially with this latest rant that he had about, well, the Democrats are no better if they're going to boycott the State of the Union address. Y'all can't look at and talk about the Republicans, President Trump, and say what they're doing, and you're not leading and setting the example. Well, God damn, Stephen A., how many times you want these people to get slapped in the face for setting the example? Because on one hand, you always say that the Democrats ain't strong enough and they don't stick together and they don't do this, that, and other. And then when they do show some union, now you're saying that they're wrong. So I can't see Stephen A. Smith running for anything and being taken seriously. I was having a conversation with one of my good friends on yesterday at lunch, and I said that the problem with Stephen A. is that he isn't good enough to run on the on the Republican side. He's not good enough to run on the Republican side, but he doesn't have enough pull. He doesn't have, not enough pull. He doesn't have enough people on the Democratic side, especially when it comes to the African American community, because you've ostracized. Look, I get it, Stephen A. It don't matter how much money you give to HBCUs. Hey, I appreciate it. I'm a HBCU grad. I went to Prairie View A&M University. PV, look, I understand all that. I understand what you're trying to do and the message you're trying to send. I just think that you're going about it the wrong way when you're trying to jump into these political waters. Now, maybe you're tired of being on the sports side, but you're not the right person, Stephen A., to bring politics and sports together, because you've ostracized so many in the African American community. There's so many people, so many Black people that have turned their backs on you and don't want to have anything to do with you, for you to be able to come and run, and people will think on both sides of the aisle that you could fuse things and make things better. Also, because you've bloviated yourself to a point to where everybody always sees you in a negative light, you're not going to be like, you don't have. One thing I can say about President Donald Trump is he's charismatic, and as he gets older, it's starting to dwindle a little bit, but he's charismatic, and he has a way of pulling in the base that he's looking for. He pulls in that base, he makes that base strong. Stephen A., you don't have that. You don't have a strong enough base. You don't have a strong enough base to have the backing that you think that to have the backing of running for the president of the United States. Hey, Stephen A., start with county commissioner, something like that. Start parks and recreation director. Start there, Stephen A. Start doing that. Run for judge of civil court. Run for county commissioner. Run for, like, start small. Don't try to shoot your way all the way up to the top, because you're never going to get there, because there isn't enough people that respect you on either side of the party. I had to get that off my chest. I've been holding on to that for a very long time. It ain't no damn way that I would vote for Stephen A. Smith. I'd be a damn fool if I would let Stephen A. Smith come on television. First of all, we're gonna get a million videos of him just walking to the podium. He gonna have video of himself walking all around. Well, they don't even have the Rose Garden no more because they tore that down. Like, I just don't want to see Stephen A. Smith on my television all the time talking about a whole bunch of nothing. We'll have to take a break. When we come back, I'm going to tell you exactly why the Houston Texans and the Houston Rockets are the exact same team. We'll be back.
Hi, Laura Williams coming to you here from Easy Honda. Just want to remind you that this is my new home, and here at Easy Honda, we are here to take care of all your vehicle needs. From new vehicles to pre-owned vehicles, we've got what you are looking for. And if you're a business and you're looking for vehicles, we've got a great selection here at our dealership. For any information on getting your next vehicle here at Easy Honda, you can reach me at 281-224-3666. Remember to ask for Laura Williams. We make it easy here at Easy Honda.
Hey, welcome back. What is going on with this thing? You tune in to Sports Talk with Big Sarge. I'm your host, Big Sarge. Before we went to the break, I told you that. So I've been saying this for the last 3 seasons, and there are a lot of people who have picked up on it. There's a lot of people who have, tried to throw it into their own. There have been a lot of people who try to throw it into their own show. There's a lot of individuals who, heard me say this first and then grabbed it and took off with it like they came up with it, like it's their own. Hey, man, look, some of y'all are gonna have to start paying me residuals. I'm just saying, because I'm hearing, I see a lot of y'all clips, and a lot of y'all clips, Joe, sound like a lot of Big Sarge material. I'm just saying. And if it's you and you feel that way, you know how to get in contact with me. We can have a conversation. I'm not here for violence at all. But if you want to have a conversation with me, we'll have a conversation. So, like I said, I've been saying over the last 3 seasons, since the Houston Texans hired DeMeco Ryans to be their head coach, and since the Houston Rockets hired Ime Udoka to be their head coach, that those 2 teams have mirrored each other to a T. That those 2 teams are really that SpiderMan meme of one Spider-Man pointing at the other Spider-Man. Later on, probably before football season start, after basketball season and before football season, I will put out an article. I have exclusive quotes from Texans head coach DeMeco Ryans, and I have exclusive quotes from Houston Rockets head coach Ime Udoka about those 2 teams. I've asked both of those head coaches about how they see each other's team mirroring each other, as far as the success is concerned, as far as the failures are concerned. Because you think about it, with the way that the Houston Texans have played over the last 3 seasons, and them winning the AFC South 2 years in a row, and seeing them go to the playoffs for 3 years in a row, seeing them advance to the divisional round for 3 years in a row, after 3 years, 2 to 3 years of turmoil, and them being almost a dumpster fire over there off of Kirby. You watch and you seeing how they have transitioned back to being a winning franchise. It's the exact same thing like it was with the Houston Rockets, when before they hired Ime Udoka, They were in that exact same situation, a team that had no direction and not knowing which way to go. And then Ime Udoka's first year, they go 41-41. The second year, they end up being second in the West. And, today they play they play the Charlotte Hornets at 6 p.m. and they currently sit third in the Western Conference right now. Now, later on, we'll talk about Kevin Durant's alleged burner. We'll get to that. I promise you we will. But when you look at the Houston Rockets and when you look at the Houston Texans, right? And I call them the SpiderMan meme. Let me tell you why. Let me tell you why I call them the SpiderMan meme, right? Because what a lot of people are missing out, what a lot of people are missing out on is the fact that there are two key components that make the Texans go. Sorry, there's two key components. One that makes the Houston Texans go and the other that makes the Houston Rockets go. And that's running back Joe Mixon for the Texans, and that's point guard Fred VanVleet for the Houston Rockets. With the way that the offense moved this year for the Houston Texans, imagine how much more successful they could have been, how much better they could have been if they'd have had their quote unquote point guard as far as Joe Mixon is concerned. Everyone knows that running back Joe Mixon missed the entire season. And with the Houston Texans, having to depend on Nick Chubb, who had suffered major injuries over the last 2 years, older running back. And don't get me wrong, I like Nick Chubb. I like what Nick Chubb was able to come in and do. But you had Nick Chubb, older Nick Chubb, and then you have a rookie in running back Woody Marks. And so you're trying to piece together that running game, all the while installing a new offense. And so when that happens, not only does that put a lot of things in disarray, because if you listen to any NFL head coach, one of the first things they're going to tell you is the key to offensive success is being able to run the ball. If you don't believe me, go back and watch the Super Bowl between the Seattle Seahawks and the New England Patriots. Go back and watch that. Who was the MVP? Don't worry, I'll wait. Who had the most? Okay, now I know when I say this, some of y'all will be like, who's the kicker? No, it was not the Seahawks kicker who had the most impact. He just did his job, but all of that was set up because of the way that running back Kenneth Walker played. There was times that they didn't even have Jackson Smith and Jigba on the field, and Kenneth Walker was able to do the things that he needed to do in order to help the Seattle Seahawks win the Super Bowl. You got to have, they'll tell you, matter of fact, they'll tell you that from Pop Warner football all the way to the NFL, that in order to have a successful offense, you've got to have a good running game. Your running game has to be effective. Your running game has to be efficient. What the Houston Texans did not have this year was an effective and efficient running game, all the while trying to get a rookie running back up to speed, all the while trying to get two rookie wide receivers up to speed, all without having Tank Dell, who was out for the entire season. And so when you look at the loss of Joe Mixon's absence just didn't affect what the Houston Texans was trying to do on the field, but in the locker room as well, because Joe Mixon is a locker room leader. Joe Mixon is a guy that those players respect, those players listen to, and they know that he is one of those guys that is going to go out there and put it all on the line. He's not one of those guys that's going to sit back and wait for things to happen. He's one of those guys that's going to go out there and he's going to make things happen. And so when you don't have that, when you don't have an effective running game, then that makes everything else kind of just move a little slower. That makes everything not as crisp and clean as you like it to have, especially when you got a running back like Nick Chubb trying to get back up to speed, when you have a rookie running back trying to learn his way in the NFL, trying to learn how to go to that next level. If you'd have had Joe Mixon, you'd have been able to bridge that type of stuff by drafting, Woody Marks. Nick Chubb probably wouldn't have been here, but that key component of not having an effective running game is one of the reasons why the Houston Texans offense didn't look as good as some may have thought coming into the season. Okay, we know that CJ is going to be in a new system. We know, Nick Caley has been in this. If you'd have had Joe Mixon, it'd have looked totally different in my eyes. I say that to say this. It's the exact same thing that the Houston Rockets are going through right now without point guard Fred VanVleet. I understand. A lot of you all want to criticize Fred and you want to talk about Fred, but you are not watching exactly what Fred VanVleet brings to the Houston Rockets in totality. Everything I just said about Joe Mixon is exactly what I can say about Fred VanVleet. Like I said, the Texans and the Rockets are the SpiderMan meme. They're pointing at each other. They're like, I'm you, you, me, or whatever the case may be. Look at the way that the Rockets offense is running without a true point guard, a true leader on the floor in Fred VanVleet. Now, he's still in the locker room, so he's still able to talk to some of those guys. He's still in the he's still in the locker room. He's still, on the bench helping, but they are missing his presence on the court, just like the Texans were missing Joe Mixon's presence. You see, when things start getting going all wild and haywire, if you've watched the Rockets since Fred VanVleet has been here, he's one of those people that will calm everything down. Not only will he calm everything down, he knows exactly where everybody's supposed to be. So he's putting people where they're supposed to be. Hey, Alpy, you go right here. Hey, Jabari, you go right here. Hey, Tari, you go right here. And imagine if you'd have had Fred VanVleet and Kevin Durant on the floor together. That's why it looks so discombobulated. Because although Amen is a natural, has played the point guard position, his entire career up until he got into the NBA and they're moving him around, he's never had to play point guard in the NBA because there's always been Fred there. And so he hasn't had to play. There's always been a point guard there. And so the Rockets figured out, hey, we could use him in different, he's a natural born basketball player, so we could use him in a dunker spot, somewhere he had never played before. He's never played off the ball. Amen Thompson has always had the ball in his hands. And so now with the absence of Fred, you're trying to teach him how to be a point guard, all the while trying to teach NBA point guard, all the while trying to teach Reed Shepherd how to be an NBA point guard, all the while trying to make sure that Kevin Durant is getting the ball where he likes in his sweet spots, and Alpy's getting the ball where he likes in his sweet spot. What these teams have done, what these teams have has done to the Houston Rockets is they've taken advantage of their weakness, and what their weakness is that they don't have a point guard. That's it. True, you can bring in Aaron Holiday, but Aaron Holiday is not Fred VanVleet. They are missing their floor general. They're missing their floor leader. I don't care what you want to say about the way that Fred plays. I don't care what you want to say about, Fred, the way that Fred shoots or whatever the case may be, which I think is a crock of shit, because if it wasn't for Fred VanVleet, the Houston Rockets wouldn't have even managed to stay in that series with Golden State on last year. And so when you look at that, watch the Rockets are getting ready to play at 6 p.m. Central Standard Time against the Charlotte Hornets. And watch how sometimes they go through these stretches where they cannot get going on offense. They look ineffective on offense. They look inefficient on offense because they don't have Fred VanVleet. Does that sound familiar? Take yourself back to some of these games that you watch with the Houston Texans this past season and what it looked like, what it could have looked like if Joe Mixon would have been on the field. Now imagine some of the games that you've watched the Houston Rockets lose because they didn't have a Fred VanVleet on the floor. Let's just go back to this last game that they lost before the All-Star break against the Clippers. It wasn't a game that they should have lost. They were up by 15 points. Los Angeles made a run. You know who would have calmed all of that down? Fred VanVleet. You know who would have calmed all of that down when they went on that losing streak to those those under 500 teams back in it, when they lost to the Clippers, they lost to the Kings, they lost to the Trailblazers. Like, you know who would have calmed those things down? Fred VanVleet, because he's a champion. He's played point guard his whole life, and he's a veteran, and he knows exactly where everybody should be. Now go back and look at some of the games that the Houston Texans lost and think about what would have happened if they would have been able to just run the ball. Let me give you an example. If the Houston Texans would have had Joe Mixon against the New England Patriots, excuse me, they don't lose. They don't lose. If they have Joe Mixon against the Patriots in the divisional round, they don't lose. And you know why they don't lose? Because, all right, CJ seems to be off his game today. Hand the ball off to Joe Mixon. All right. Hey, CJ is getting a little shaky back there for you in the pocket. Don't worry. We always got Joe to depend on. We can hand the ball off to Joe. Joe is going to make something happen. No matter, it may not be the first time. It may not be the second time. And come that third or fourth time, you're handing the ball off to Joe Mixon. He's making something happen. The exact same way with Fred VanVleet. Okay, so now these teams that went on a run, don't worry about it. I'm finna calm down. We are about to run a play. Or calm down. Everybody just get settled. Just get settled. Slow down. Slow down. Get your mind together. Let's get back in this thing. The exact same way with Joe Mixon. Hey, everybody, slow down. Calm down. Get me the rock. That's why I say they point at each other, and they point at each other often. They point at each other a lot. And when you look at what each one of them was missing, when you look at what the Texans were missing in Joe Mixon, if you look at what the Rockets are missing in Fred VanVleet, you'll see that it's the exact same thing. That's why they mirror each other. Because imagine what the Texan season would have been if they would have had Joe Mixon. Now imagine what the Houston Rockets season would be, where they would be right now if they had Fred VanVleet on the floor. Sorry, you preaching. I know. That's why I'm the best. I don't give a damn who else you listen to. And I mean, that ain't no shot at nobody else, but if you take it as a shot, I honestly and truly don't care. This is why I'm the best. Because I don't need to create confusion. I create content. I don't need to create confusion. I create content. Now, you're wondering why I said that, right? I said that because when we come back from the break, we're definitely going to have to talk about all this bullshit behind CJ Stroud's name as far as trade is concerned. I'll tell you how, and I'll take you behind the fifth wall and show you how these buzzwords that these people are trying to use to get clicks, likes, and retweets is doing nothing but causing confusion. We'll be back.
Hi, Laura Williams coming to you here from Easy Honda. Just want to remind you that this is my new home, and here at Easy Honda, we are here to take care of all your vehicle needs. From new vehicles to pre-owned vehicles, we've got what you are looking for. And if you're a business and you're looking for vehicles, we've got a great selection here at our dealership. For any information on getting your next vehicle here at Easy Honda, you can reach me at 281-224-3666. Remember to ask for Laura Williams. We make it easy here at Easy Honda.
Y'all give me a second. I got to prop my own self up over here. I got to tweet this out. It says, I'm cooking on this show for real. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Where we at? Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Stop playing with me. I told y'all. And I told y'all when I came back that it was going to be a different Sarge. Hey, welcome back. You tune to Sports Talk with Big Sarge. I'm your host, Big Sarge. Make sure you follow me on the app formerly known as Twitter at Big Sarge Sports, the Z at the end. Follow me on the Tick and the Talk at Big Sarge Media. Make sure you're subscribed to the Texas Tailgate Talk and Big Sarge Media YouTube page. And follow me on Instagram at Big Sarge Sports with the Z at the end. Because you know we do everything for the gram. All right, but so before I went to the break, I told you, right? I have a saying that I created, right? I have a saying that I love using, right? I said, those who can't create content creates confusion. Let me say that again. Those who can't create content creates confusion. And doing my little sabbatical, right? I'm still on social media. I'm still reading things and I'm still scrolling. And I come across a clip with former ESPN. I don't think, because Todd McShay doesn't work at ESPN anymore, right? Somebody dropped that in the chat. I don't think that Todd McShay works for ESPN anymore. But I come across this clip with Todd McShay, right? Him and another young man. I don't know the young man's name, and because I don't subscribe to the podcast, so I don't know what you know who the young man is, who the people are. So I come across this clip, right? And I'm listening to it. And I'm listening to it and I'm hearing what Todd McShay is saying, right? And then I made a comment, and shout out to Lance Zerline, who does great, a great job of, covering the NFL, but also this is his time of year. The draft is coming up. He covers that draft like no other. He covers that draft like no other. Every year he does an outstanding job at covering the draft, and he's a host over at ESPN 97.5. So him and I had a little, conversation, a little back and forth. Now, it wasn't anything that was malicious or salacious. It was not bad. It was just a conversation that him and I was having, because I said, I don't like these type of things because I know exactly what Todd McShay is doing. So I told you all before the break, I was going to take you behind the fifth wall just a little bit. Let me take you behind the fifth wall, right? So when a lot of these producers or these program directors, assistant program directors, producers, when especially during this time of the year, when you're waiting on basketball to really ramp back up, right? When you're in the NFL season is in a dead period, spring training hasn't started. There's this time frame and this piece of time where it's nothing. And at that time is when you mostly get the people who come up with who's the greatest basketball player of all time. Name your top 10 Houston Texans players of all time. Who's on your Mount Rushmore of Houston Rockets players? Who's the greatest Astro? You get these type of things going on because these program directors are trying to find any type of buzzword or any type of buzzword or any type of conflict, creating some type of conflict to get the views up, to have the sponsors listen, because you're going to have people that'll call into the shows or people that'll jump into the comments or, jump into the chat. And so you have these people, and especially if you've been in the media long enough, they use these phrases. So what Todd McShay used was, he says teams will target. He said teams will target, right? He says teams will target. Some of these teams will entertain these calls. Target and entertain, they're buzzwords. And one of the reasons why Todd McShay can say that and get away with it is because he doesn't have to validate it. See, when you say that such and such has been targeted, right? You don't have to validate it because you just say it's being targeted, right? It's just being targeted. Now, I probably would have respected what Todd McShay was saying more if he'd have been like, look, according to sources, This is what my sources say. I didn't hear him say that. If y'all can find a clip where he said it, please send it to me at Big Sarge. Big Sarge Sports Z at the end on Twitter. DM it to me. I didn't hear him say that. I just heard him say that some of these teams who will be looking for quarterbacks because they believe that this draft is a weak quarterback draft will be targeting players like CJ Stroud, right? So this is where Lance and I had our conversation, because he said it does, it's not out of the picture because CJ had an off season. Well, this is where my expertise comes in, right? And it's still out there. I did not take it off, and I don't think that Lance would take it off. But this is where I had to step in and say, nah, it's different. Sure, you can say that it's just two guys chopping it up. It's just two guys talking about different types of things around in the NFL. Yeah, but it also moves the needle when you say targeted. Teams are targeting CJ Stroud. There's no possible way that CJ Stroud, the franchise quarterback of the Houston Texans, is being targeted by any general manager, because they know that the Texans aren't going to give him up. Like, that's a waste of a phone call. I can call the Bentley dealership right now and say, hey, look, I'm looking into getting a Bentley. Oh, okay. Well, what car are you looking for? This, that, another. Oh, well, I'm looking at this, that, another. Well, how much you got to put down? $1,500. They're going to hang up in my face. That's a waste of my time, and it's a waste of their time. And then they're going to talk about how stupid that was. Well, CJ isn't a franchise quarterback. He didn't prove it last year. Well, let's just take some things into consideration. Some of the things that the organization takes into consideration. You know what the organization takes into consideration? One, it puts CJ in his second offensive system in his third year. He's had 2 offensive systems, and he's only been in the NFL for 3 years. That is a lot. 2, remember we talked about earlier in the show, Joe Mixon. No Joe Mixon, right? No effective running game. Okay, so you got to take that into consideration. No Tank. You got to depend heavily on Nico Collins, who showed up, selected the Pro Bowl. You got to depend heavily on him because you still got 2 rookies who's trying to learn how to ingratiate themselves into the system, right? Right. So, new offensive system, running game, wide receivers. And then here's the biggest thing, right? Here's the biggest thing, the offensive line. Sure, we can have revisionist history and talk about the way that CJ Stroud played in the playoffs. Of course. Hey, let's talk about that. But when you talk about that, you also got to throw in, hey, man, he didn't have the best protection either. Now, some of those decisions, I'm not trying to give CJ a complete pass, right? Because some of those passes, no pun intended, but some of those passes that he made, those were horrible decisions by him. But by the same token, this team on the offensive side of the ball had a lot of struggles. You know who looks at that? The organization. If everything would have been perfect, right? And what I mean by perfect is, if this was CJ's third year, if Bobby Sloak was still here, and this was CJ's third year in that system, if they'd have had Joe Mixon, if they'd have had Nico Collins and Tank Dell, if they'd have had an effective offensive line, right? And what I mean by effective offensive line is effective when it comes to the lineups. Like, maybe effective is the wrong word. Let me say this. If they'd have had a consistent rotation as far as offensive lineman was concerned, have that consistency as far as the starting lineup, those are just some of the things that go into play when you're trying to evaluate CJ Stroud as well. Did he have his best year? No. Did he have a great playoff run? Hell no. He did not. But you know what he still is for the Houston Texans? The franchise quarterback. You remember what I just said about pre-D'Amico? Y'all don't remember what it was like not to have a franchise quarterback? Y'all don't remember what the Houston Texans looked like before DeMeco came and before CJ Stroud was drafted? Do you honestly, in your right mind, believe that the Houston Texans want to go back through that? Do you honestly, in your right mind, believe that the Houston Texans want to go back to searching for a franchise quarterback when they already have one? CJ Stroud is a franchise quarterback. So all these entertain and target, that's nothing but buzzwords to get likes, retweets, clicks. It's clickbait. Sure, a general manager can pick up the phone and call Nick Caserio and say, hey man, just want to know what you're looking for CJ Stroud. If I was the owner of that team and I found that out, you know what I tell my general manager? Your ass is fired. Why would you do that? That was stupid. That was a waste of time. Well, you never know what could be on Nick's mind at that time and you know what he may be looking for. Shit, if it was left up to Nick, then maybe, but it ain't left up to Nick. Listen to me now, believe me later on. It ain't just left up to Nick to make those type of decisions. Do you know what it takes? Do you know what it takes to get CJ Stroud traded? Do you know what it would take for the Houston Texans organization to trade CJ Stroud? If you're a team and you wanted to trade with the Houston Texans for CJ Stroud, you'll be a lottery team. Not a lottery team. You'll be picking, I said lottery. Damn, I got my mind on the NBA still. You will be drafted in the top 5 for the next 10 years. Because Nick Caserio and the Houston Texans organization is going to gut your franchise. CJ will probably be the only star that you have. And there's only a couple of I'm like, he gonna want everything and draft picks. Your franchise would never recover. You know why it would never recover? Because CJ Stroud is a franchise quarterback. The Houston Texans are not going to give up their franchise quarterback. No matter what people want to say about his character, his demeanor, the way that he played in the playoffs. Oh, well, so what? They was in the playoffs. Oh, well, he didn't perform against the Steelers. He didn't perform against the Steelers. He didn't perform against New England. Well, I get that part. He doesn't get a pass for that. But that doesn't say just because he had a down year that he's not a franchise quarterback. Drake May did not perform in any of those games that the New England Patriots won heading up to the Super Bowl, up to and including the Super Bowl. Do you think that anybody from the New England Patriots organization is taking phone calls for Drake May? Why didn't you, Todd McShay, why didn't you say that Drake May was targeted? Oh, because he went to the Super Bowl? Sure. One, with the easiest schedule. That's the first thing. Second thing is, he did not put when he got time when it was time for him to show up and play, he did not. If I'm not mistaken, Drake May was the worst playoff quarterback in NFL history. You didn't say he was targeted. It's a buzzword, y'all. Targeted. What did it say? Targeted and entertain. No. Todd McShay is looking for clicks. Todd McShay is looking for likes. Todd McShay is looking for retweets. And y'all can clip this up and tag Todd McShay in this if you want to. I'll have the conversation with him, and I'm not going to even pull the tricks that Skip Bayless be trying to pull, or Stephen A. or none of them be trying to pull by saying, "Yeah, click this up and tell him if he wants to talk about it. Come on my show." Hell no, I'll come on your show. I'm good. I don't need to I don't need to cause confusion to have you come on my show. No, cool. If you want to talk about this, Todd McShay, I'll come on your show. And then you can tell me. And that's the funniest thing, because people be like, oh man, Todd McShay's been in this business for so long and he has this source, this, that, another. Well, I've been in this business since 2017, as far as the NFL concerned. 2018 since the Rockets. I got people right now, that if you pull them to the side, they'll tell you, no, Sarge know a lot of shit. Sarge know a lot of shit. Sarge hear a lot of shit. Sarge just don't talk about a lot of shit. See what I'm saying? That ain't me. I'm not looking to go viral. I don't care. I'm 54 years old. And the only people there's only two individuals that I want to go viral for. And that's my granddaughters. And that's me sharing, me spending time with them, or for whatever they're going to do, I'm gonna pump it up. They are in gymnastics. One of them is a cheerleader. One of them I know is going to be an actress, because she is so much drama. I don't need it, y'all. I don't. So when you try to discredit me and say, well, you don't have this, that, and other, I'm telling you right now, tell you right now, there's a lot of people that'll tell you, no, not Sarge. How you know that? Well, just go back and look at when the Deshaun Watson stuff broke and what Sarge tweeted out. He didn't tell you shit. He just said, hey man, you too rich and famous to be doing some stupid shit like that. Then bam. So yeah, so I'm not trying to go viral. All I'm saying is, Todd McShay, you know who you sound like another guy that I know that covers another NFL team. I'm not going to say his name on here. He'll see this and he knows who he is. He's probably watching right now because he likes to hear if I'm going to say his name so he can retort. So you know who you are. There's another content creator who covers a team out of the NFC North that when his clicks get low, he quickly puts CJ Stroud name in something. He quickly compares CJ Stroud to Jordan Love when there really is no comparison, because Jordan Love has been in the league way longer than CJ Stroud. But you love to throw in CJ's name and talk about how much worse he is than Jordan Love and how he can't hold a candle to Jordan Love. Every time I can tell when he needs a boost to keep his bosses happy, because the first name he mentions is CJ Stroud. And the sad part about it is he uses it under his own name. He tweets those things out under his own name. He don't even use a burner. We'll be back.
Hi, Laura Williams coming to you here from Easy Honda. Just want to remind you that this is my new home, and here at Easy Honda, we are here to take care of all your vehicle needs. From new vehicles to pre-owned vehicles, we've got what you are looking for. And if you're a business and you're looking for vehicles, we've got a great selection here at our dealership. For any information on getting your next vehicle here at Easy Honda, you can reach me at 281-224-3666. Remember to ask for Laura Williams. We make it easy here at Easy Honda.
Hey, welcome back. You're tuning to Sports Talk with Big Sarge. I'm your host, Big Sarge. Hey, I want to thank everybody who's taking their time out right now to watch this. And if you feel like the content was really good, hey man, share it. Share it. Please share it. There's going to be some people out there that's going to want to see this that will agree. Some out there that want to disagree. It doesn't matter, man. Let's put it out there. I'm such a kind soul. I'm such a good guy. Okay. Let's talk about this before I get ready to leave. All right. Let's see. 49. Let's talk about this. So over the weekend, right? Over the weekend, the NBA held its annual All-Star game, which, side note, hey, that's one of the most competitive. That's one of the most competitive All-Star games I've seen in a very long time, and I like it. I like it a lot. That's why I like when Kevin Durant when he was asked before the All-Star break about the old heads, and he was like, "Hey, look, have you seen these guys? They don't really play hard or whatever the case may be." And I think he fueled that. I think he fueled that competitiveness in other players. Definitely in San Antonio Spurs center Victor Wembanyama, who said that, "Hey, look, I'm coming to play," and that fueled Anthony Edwards, who was the All-Star game MVP. He's like, well, look, if Victor about that life, then I'm about that life too. Y'all know Anthony Edwards don't back down from anything, and you know he can play. And so I like that. And I even asked Kevin Durant on what's today? Thursday. I asked him on Wednesday. Does he think that his comments made the game more competitive? And he said no. I think he thinks that they were just tired of showing up and not, giving the people the product that they deserve. He says that we didn't like what was being attached to our names. So the NBA All-Star game was played. Before the game was actually played, though, some news broke, right? Some news broke about this alleged Kevin Durant burner account, this Get Off My Dickerson. That's hilarious. It's like Get Off My Dickerson, and it was like something else, Get something 77. I forgot what the other was. Get Off My Dickerson, and hold on. Let me see. Because give me 1 second. Here we go. Get Off My Dickerson and Get Higher 77. I was able to go back through my text messages and see that because I got a phone call and then I got text messages about, hey, man, something's about to break with Kevin Durant. I said, what do you mean something's about to break with Kevin Durant? And they like, well, they have allegedly found Kevin Durant's burners and stuff is about to get leaked. I said, is it real? And 2 people told me that it was real. 2 people told me that it was fake. Let me say this. A couple of things, right? 1, it's very hard to believe things nowadays with the way that AI and Chat GPT and all of that is operating. You don't know what's real. You don't know what's fake. You don't know what. There's a look. If you have some time, just go through and do search from guys who have been catfished, guys and young ladies who have been catfished by AI pictures or AI videos and gotten scammed and things like that. Right? And side note, I know Kevin Durant came out a while ago and said that he had a burner account or whatever the case may be. So there's some guys that was in that group chat that was like, no, this is KD, this is KD, this is KD, this, that, and that. Okay. I was asked earlier about my opinion of it. And let me just say this. From being around Kevin Durant as much as I have, I honestly and truly do not believe that that's him saying those things, especially about his current teammates. There's no possible way he would call Jabari Smith Jr. the R word. I put the clip out on numerous occasions when KD was with the Phoenix Suns, and I asked him about the Rockets team, and he talked about how he watched that team, and he's watched Ime, and he's watched the way that everything has transpired with them, and he's like players like Jabari Smith Jr. I've been watching him since high school, right? KD was letting Jabari come work out with him before there was even a thought of Kevin Durant joining the Houston Rockets. Jabari has worked out and played against Kevin Durant on numerous occasions. So do I think that he called Jabari the R word? I do not think that. Do I think that he would say those things about Alperen Şengün? No. And the reason why I don't think that he would say those things about Alperen Şengün in a group chat is because the things that were said is some of the things that Kevin Durant has told Alperen Şengün in some form or fashion. Maybe not those words verbatim, but you've seen him be visibly upset at him and Şengün going back on the court. He doesn't need to run to a group chat to tell them how he feels about the way that Alpy does things sometimes. Go back, and there's been numerous games, but go back and look at the game when the Rockets played the Detroit Pistons and look at the exchange between Kevin Durant and Alperen Sengun. He doesn't need to put that. He doesn't need to put that in a group text. Those are the things that he would say to Alpy on the court during the game. Those are the things he would say to Alpy on the court after the game. Those are the things he's probably pulled Alpy to the side and talked to him about. And there's a clip going around where someone asked Alpy about, does Kevin Durant be on his phone like that after the game? And Alpy said, I don't talk about locker room stuff. I don't discuss locker room things. We talked about this fifth wall earlier. I'm going to take you behind the fifth wall just a little bit. One of the main reasons why I don't believe that Kevin Durant would say that in a group chat is because on numerous occasions, I've walked into the locker room and KD is talking to Alpy and telling him some things he could have done. And then Alpy's telling him some things that he could have done. I've walked into the locker room and seen Jabari and Kevin having a discussion about some things that at one time I walked in, it was KD, it was Jabari, it was Tari, and it was Amen. And they were all sitting there and they were going through things that went on the court, and they're talking to each other and said what they could have done better, this, that, another. Then KD has even said, yeah, I could have moved here, or I could have done this a little bit better. I don't believe that he has to. I can only speak about what with the Rocket stuff. I don't know about what Get Off My Dickerson said. What's going on, Tay? I don't know what Get Off My Dickerson, who they allege was Kevin Durant. I don't know what he said about Russell Westbrook. I don't know what he said about Steph Curry. I don't know what he said about Kyrie Irving. I was not around during those times. I can only give you what I know about Kevin Durant from his time with the Rockets currently. And I'm saying to myself, that don't even sound like something that he would say in a group chat, because most of the times you go in a group chat and things like that, you be saying things that you don't want people to know. If he felt that way, he gonna tell them. He does. Let me tell you something about Kevin Durant that you all may not know. He don't bite his tongue for nobody. At no given time will Kevin Durant ever not tell you how he's feeling if it's appropriate, right? If it's appropriate. You know what else Kevin Durant does? He takes accountability upon himself. So when he has 8 turnovers in the game, you know what he comes and say? It was on me. When he missed those 2 free throws, when he missed that free throw to start the season against Oklahoma City, and they lost in double overtime, he missed the free throw and he fouled out. He fouled out when he fouled SGA. You know, one of the first things he said, it's on me. When the team when the team loses, the first thing he says is, what could I have done better? He does not bite his tongue. So with that being said, when it comes to this Rocket stuff, I don't believe it. I do not believe it. And I can only speak for the Rocket stuff. I can't speak for everything else. You're going to have to talk to somebody who's covered him when he was in Phoenix. You're going to have to talk to somebody who covered him when he was in Brooklyn, covered him when he was with Golden State, covered him when he was with OKC. Like those things I can't speak to because I don't have firsthand knowledge about that. I got firsthand knowledge when it comes to the Rockets. And that's why I say I don't believe that he would say those things about Jabari, and I don't believe that he'll say those things about Alpy. What I do believe that if he has an issue, he goes to them and he'll tell them, hey, man, look, this ain't going right. And on the flip side, they tell him too. See, I think y'all think that KD walks into the Houston Rockets locker room and everybody knows his accolades. Everybody knows who he is. Everybody knows that he's Kevin Durant and he is here. He's going to go down as one of the all-time greats. It doesn't mean he can't be talked to. It doesn't mean he can't be told that he made a mistake too. And he welcomes that. He invites that. He has told me on numerous occasions, hey man, the only way we're going to get better is if we communicate. Firsthand knowledge. So I don't believe that when it comes to the Rocket stuff, that Kevin Durant said that. Now, that being said, before I get off this show, let me tell you the problem that I had. Let me sit up here for a second. Let me get some water. Y'all give me 1 second. Let me tell you the goddamn problem that I had with some of this stuff that came out, and the way that some of this stuff came out, and the way that some of you all reacted online when you say, okay, this is Kevin Durant. And I can't believe that Kevin Durant, and I'm talking about Get Off My Dickerson, which is alleged to be Kevin Durant's burner account, right? A lot of you all, I read your comments, I read your retweets, I read all of that. Oh, I can't believe that Kevin Durant would say that about his teammates. You say the same goddamn thing about your coworkers. When you're sitting at your cubicle, when you go to lunch with your work spouse, when you had lunch with your other coworkers, your little gang that you're with. Don't be no goddamn hypocrite and act like, oh, I can't believe that anybody would say this. You do it every day. At your cubicle, in the break room, on a cigarette break. You do it with your family members. There ain't nobody that can tell me that family members don't talk about each other behind their backs. And you know who one of the biggest perpetrators of talking about people behind their backs? Okay, y'all gonna get mad at me when I say this. You know who one of the biggest perpetrators, one of the biggest instigators is your big mama, your nana, your grandmama. Your grandmother is the messiest person in your family. You know why your grandmother is the messiest person in your family? She talk about everybody behind their back. She talk about you behind your back. You think that when she just give you information about your cousins and your auntie and your uncle, you think that she only talk, big mama love me. She tell me all the family business. Hell yeah, you and everybody else. Oh, you think when she had to give you a couple of dollars when your lights was about to go out, that she didn't talk about you behind your back to her sisters or to one of her daughters? The big mama holds all the secrets, right? And she disseminates them throughout the family. She know who can handle what. She knows who can handle what. She knows how much she can give one. She knows how much she can give the other. So when you hypocrites start saying nobody should do that, nobody should talk about their co-workers behind their back, hey, you do it in your family. You do it at your job. Let me say this one more thing before I go, because now I'm going to get a whole bunch of comments about, sorry, you don't know my grandmama. Don't be talking about my big mama like that. Don't talk about my nana like that. Don't talk about my nene, whatever you call her. Don't talk about her like that. You not finna talk about my grandmama like that. Oh, for real? But the next family reunion or the next family gathering, Easter, perfect time. He is risen, right? He is risen. We'll celebrate the resurrection, right? You'll celebrate the resurrection, right? We all around together at Easter. Just bring up some stuff. How you think Tyler Perry able to make all these movies, all these messy movies like that? Because that's what goes on in the real families. Just start bring up something that you think that your grandmama only told you, and watch how it snowballs downhill. Your grandmama is one of the messiest people in your family, and you gossip and you talk about the rest of your family members with her. So how in the hell you gonna come on and criticize Get Off My Dickerson because you believe that that's Kevin Durant? How you gonna say that? And y'all doing the same damn thing. You doing it at your job. You doing it in your family. Now, the second messiest person in your family, right? The second messiest person in your family is your rich auntie. I ain't gonna even lie to you. Your rich auntie is probably your rich auntie is the second most messiest person in your family. Outside of your big mama, your big mama know everything. Your rich auntie know like she like if your grandmama is the president, your rich auntie is the vice president. She know all the business because everybody come to her for the money. And when you come to her for the money, you can't just come and say, "Ain't Pauline, I need $1,000." What you need $1,000 for, baby? And then you get to running your mouth, right? And then she used the information that you gave her. She tells somebody else, and then they match that up to see if that's what your big mama knew. And then your rich auntie also call your big mama because your rich auntie is your big mama's favorite child. That's the favorite. Because in her mind, the rich auntie, even though she's single with no kids, she made something out of herself because she's rich and she got money. And Big Mama know that the rich auntie gonna take her on trips. The rich auntie come through and pick her up because the rich auntie ain't got no responsibilities. The rich auntie also ain't got no man. The rich auntie also ain't got no kids. The rich auntie is also miserable. The rich auntie also owns a. You've been tuned in to Sports Talk with Big Sarge. Make sure you follow me on the app formerly known as Twitter. I can't say that y'all rich auntie use a device that has double D batteries. Well, it's a USB cord now, right? They don't use batteries no more. They just use she can't stand. Follow me on the app formerly known as Twitter. Make sure you subscribe to the Big Sarge Media and Texans Tailgate Talk YouTube page. Make sure you follow me on the Tick and the Talk at Big Sarge Media. Oh my God. Make sure you follow me on Instagram at Big Sarge Sports to Z at the end because we do everything for the gram. Rich auntie probably getting her head knocked between the washer and the dry. Big Sarge. I'm out.
Hard work. Hard work. Hard work.